Yeah, I think that the states, I mean, there's a couple states that are doing it. I mean, even Texas is building their own gold depository to store the $1 billion worth of University of Texas gold that Kyle Bass was a fiduciary of to store gold there.
Wait, Kyle, can you talk a little bit about gold and why at UTIMCO? Why at UTIMCO you actually took delivery of the actual gold?
So I'll give you my opinion. I won't speak on behalf of UTIMCO.
Sure.
So my opinion is very simple. As a fiduciary, which I am in that position, to the extent that you own gold and you are going to own it for a long time, it's not a trade, it costs us about 90 basis points a year to roll it through financial futures contracts. And then we went and looked at the COMEX. So the COMEX at the time had about $80 billion of open interest between futures and futures options. And in the warehouse, they had 2.7 billion of deliverables. So 80 billion of open interest, 2.7 billion of deliverables. We're going to own it a long time. You're on the board. You're a fiduciary. What do you do? Like, that's an easy one. You go get it. All right. So you go take $1 billion of the 2.7 billion and let them worry about the rest. Mm-hmm. And when I talked to the head of deliveries for COMEX and IMEX, I said, well, what if like 4% of the people want delivery? And he says, oh, Kyle, that never happens. We rarely ever get a 1% delivery. So, and I said, well, what if it does happen? And he says, well, price will solve everything. I said, thanks, give me the gold. And then what was interesting was we conducted an audit of the delivery. And what was interesting in the audit was they kind of resisted our audit request on the front end. And then they finally allowed us in. And we did a random audit we had like 1,600 bars or something like that. And we just wanted to see 20 or 30 of them. And they were all over the place in different venues in the vault. They weren't segregated. So yeah, it's an interesting concept. But what I'm saying is the exchange is a fractional reserve exchange, and they think price will solve everything. So that was the decision. It's actually an easy decision if you're a fiduciary.
So I think what you're going to end up seeing is you're going to see a lot of states, who are even thinking about this now. I mean, I'm surprised that there's any state legislature anywhere in the world that's even thinking about gold and silver. But certainly before, it doesn't mean anything. Like, no one's going to want to pay their taxes in gold and silver. And it's not a law that people have to accept gold and silver. But afterwards, think about what would end up happening. I believe that there's going to be massive decentralization of power. The federal government, the way that we know it today, will not exist. And power is going to collapse to the most local and responsive levels. And if that's the local state legislature or, Rahm Emanuel in Chicago, or Mike Bloomberg, just your local homeowners authority, that's where power is going to go to. And the states that are already starting to think about gold and silver, I believe that they're going to have a lot of land that they're either going to have from failed banks. People can't pay taxes. Utah is actually suing the federal government for almost 40% of the landmass of Utah that has been confiscated or taken over by the federal government, and they're actually suing in federal court to get all that land back. So now you have a collapse of the dollar, a collapse of the federal government, the rise of state governments. They see that they like gold and silver, and they might have land. Geez, I would love to have a bunch of silver to go to one of these states that actually values what I have, and recapitalize their system, and make off with a bunch of land, probably at very, very cheap prices. I did a video called 1 ounce of silver for 45 acres of land, and that's what it worked out to with the Louisiana purchase. Now, I don't know if we'd ever get to that kind of extreme, but man, 1 ounce of silver for an acre of land, especially an acre of land that wasn't even the Utah's before. I just think that the key is stop trying to play games inside the system. Know where this system's going to go. Know that there's going to be vast amount of opportunities, but you have to have your capital ready on the other side to make it there.